Hello, welcome to Newshour, live from the BBC World Service in London. I'm Tim Franks. Almost 100 days into the war in Ukraine, and the conflict appears to have swung in a new direction. Whether it's decisive, well, that may be too early to tell. But Russia is certainly making slow, punishing progress in the east, in the Donbass region. Their forces are encircling, gripping, pulverizing chunks of territory. Ukraine is pleading, as it has throughout the conflict, but now it feels with added urgency for long-range weapons. And questions are being asked as to whether their supporters in the West, particularly in Europe, are beginning to splinter, not in their overall outrage at Russian behaviour and sympathy for Ukrainian resistance, but in terms of what they think is the most likely definition of an acceptable peace, whether Ukraine, in short, would be better off accepting the reality of partition. Let's begin with a view not from Ukraine or the West, but from Moscow, in the voice of their man in London, the Russian ambassador to the UK. Andrei Kelin has been speaking to the BBC's Clive Myrie.
By now, events are going on in the east, southeast of Ukraine, and this is clear that during 8 years after a nationalistic government has come to power in Kiev, they have built a fortress over there, a fortress in which best of Ukrainian forces are now concentrated. And this is a highly fortified region from which we are certain events could be started. We have got quite a lot of evidences that they were planning offensive against Donbass region, against Russians living over there. So we have to take preventive forces. As President Putin has said, we have had no other way but to do this.
First of all, thousands of people dying and 14 million people having to leave their homes does not suggest it's a limited military operation. It is a full-scale war. And there is absolutely no evidence that the Ukrainian forces were launching some kind of huge attack in the Donbass region. That's not there. The evidence isn't there.
Okay. Once again, it is for 8 years, Ukrainian forces were shelling in Donbass Russian people, civilians mainly. They killed quite a lot of them.
You're saying you want to help the people in the east survive. The evidence suggests that there's been widespread devastation as a result of Russian attacks. And there's currently a huge bombardment, Russian bombardment, in that part of the country, in the east. Is your aim to take and keep that part of the country?
Our aim is to help now to these republics to survive. But be sure that we are going to assist and to help of rebuilding of that. The Ukrainian troops, they are taking the civilian targets, they are using the buildings to put artillery in it and tanks underneath. So they are mainly hiding among the buildings in the settlements, in the villages and small towns. It's a very difficult job for our professional forces to seize this building one by one.
Have you given up on Kiev and focusing your war in the east?
None of our leaders, neither president or the others, has ever said that we would like to seize Kiev. And I don't believe that it is possible to seize Kiev or to occupy Kiev.
You did have troops. You did have troops on the way to Kiev. I was there at the time.
Yes, we did have troops, but not for seizure of Kiev.
So why were they there?
I'm not a military person. I'm a diplomat for 40 years. But even I do understand if you would like to do something, then on one front, then you have to do some different things on the other front, just to stretch.
Okay, so you have given up on Kiev. There will be no attacks on the capital.
We didn't have a goal of seizing Kiev at the initial stage of the operation. And I don't believe that that's a possibility.
Let's go to the town of Bucha, which has become synonymous around the world with the crimes that many people point to of the Russian military. Can you explain why civilians have been shot in cold blood in the streets of Bucha? This photograph on the left was taken in late February before Russian troops entered the town. This photograph here is on the 19th of March, just after Russian troops were about to leave. And that is the result. Dead bodies in the street. Is this how Russian troops are supposed to conduct this war? Because the evidence suggests that they're committing war crimes, sir.
After Russian troops has left Bucha, for 3 days no one has found any troops, any bodies on the streets. And there are a lot of evidence of that. After 3 days, someone has come and discovered some bodies. Besides, can you imagine that professional troops, as Russian troops, they will step over the bodies of someone during weeks and just leaving them behind? For what? For next provocation, just to be done by someone is coming. I cannot believe it, frankly speaking. This is very unprofessional.
The BBC has verified the footage, and I have been to Bucha.
I have seen the verification.
I have spoken to some of the residents, local people, who heard the gunshots, and they corroborate each other's story independently. And I went to Yablunska Street, and I spoke to people in the neighbouring street, and they heard the gunshots in a nearby school, in a couple of other buildings, and in Yablunska Street, which is where these pictures come from. Sir, again, why is Russia conducting this war in this way, committing war crimes?
Of Bucha, in his initial statement, when it has been freed, has confirmed that Russian troops have left. Everything is clean and calm. The town in a normal state. Nothing is happening. No bodies are on the street. Anyway,
so this is all made up, sir? This is all a fabrication? All this evidence is a fabrication?
In our view, it is a fabrication. It is used just to interrupt negotiations.
You say everything I've shown you is a fabrication. Bucha, the pictures, it's a fabrication. You don't believe it. It's not true. Is this a fabrication, sir? This is the city of Mariupol, completely devastated.
Don't worry about Mariupol. We have already
Many people are worrying about Mariupol.
Are you going to listen to me, or are you going to talk yourself? We have established a governmental commission which is going to rebuild Mariupol totally. We will provide for this necessary financial resources for rebuilding of it, and believe me, it will be done.
We can see from the pictures these are residential areas, sir.
As I have told you, we have lots of evidence when Ukraine artillery deliberately was shelling this, what you are showing to me.
So this is the result of Ukrainian artillery, is that what you're saying?
It might be a result. I'm not speak about...
So the Ukrainian government has decided to completely flatten one of its own cities and leave this kind of devastation.
I do accept that Mariupol is destroyed by fighting. As I have said, Russians are targeting military infrastructure. Collateral damage is possible. I used to work on NATO for many years, and I was explained several times that collateral damage happens all the time in the conflicts.
Do you believe that there could be the use of a tactical nuclear weapon in the war in Ukraine?
No. Tactical nuclear weapon, in accordance with the Russian military doctrine, is not used in conflicts like that at all. We have a very strict provision on the issues of the use of tactical nuclear weapon, and it is mainly when the existence of the state is endangered. It has nothing to do with the current operation.
But wasn't that the reasoning for going into Ukraine in the first place?
Yes, and we will deal it with conventional operation, limited conventional operation. Perhaps you have noticed that we do not increase the number of our forces over there. We believe that it is sufficient to deal with the situation.
The Russian ambassador in London, Andrei Kelin, speaking to the BBC's Clive Myrie.